There has been dozens of times when a rapper passes away, the music they leave behind has lyrics relating to exactly how they passed. This leaves many fans believing that the rapper staged their passing in order to escape the spotlight of being famous. Just like Tupac Shakur. With new police technology over the years, a new police investigation team has now been placed on Tupac Shakur's case, as there has been new evidence being found every single week that could relate to Tupac still being alive. It really makes this interview with rapper named Tretch feels strange, because in 2010, Tretch was interviewed on the topic of Tupac before a concert. Tretch and Tupac were very close friends back in the day, and they even worked on a few albums together. But here's where things get interesting. After Tretch's interview, the cameraman forgot to stop recording. He places his camera onto the floor, and in the footage, you can hear the interviewer asking Tretch about Tupac, to which Tretch responds, "Last time I saw him, he was in Cuba."
So if you ain't ready for it, get on the sidewalk.
One last question. Nobody knows. Y'all good? Yeah, we good. Thanks a lot, man. We good.
Last time I saw him, he was in church, man.
Then, only 1 week later, a video would be released onto a news website showing a video of Tupac supposedly chilling in a parking lot inside of Cuba.
Look, zoom in. That's Pac, man. He with the outlaws. And Reg from Holla Back is trying to be friendly and get autographs. Holla Back exclusive, baby. Holla Back.
This is what created the Tupac is alive in Cuba theory, and it has been the most popular theory ever since. However, now in 2024, it is really not seeming like a theory anymore, as it begins with an officer revealing that Tupac was an industry plant, and his job was to stop the beef between the red and blue street teams.
What did you find most fascinating about the alternative history of Tupac?
Well, it turns out when I talked to Tupac's longtime mentor, political mentor, former Black Panther Chokwe Lumumba, who was his first business manager, he's told me, I basically asked, well, was Tupac only pretending to be in order to appeal to gangs and politicize them? And he said yes. And that was part of his thug life agenda that he came up with his imprisoned stepfather, Mutulu Shakur. And so Tupac was just using that in order to get the leaders to call peace truces, first in Los Angeles, then throughout California, and then throughout the country. And that was why he was pretending to be this type. And really, he was just an intellectual prodigy.
Then obviously, with the plan not working, he would then suddenly sadly pass. Snoop Dogg would then be asked to react to this investigator's interview. Snoop Dogg would then claim that he was actually supposed to be in the BMW with Tupac and Suge Knight on the night that Tupac sadly passed.
You were with Tupac, though, in regards to Tupac. I heard a story, did you give him different advice that night on where to go?
I didn't give him no advice.
Right.
We wasn't seeing eye to eye.
Right.
So
saying during the Tyson.
Yeah, this incident that I'm explaining to you right now was the day before that.
Okay.
So when they got to Vegas, they went their way, I went back. I mean, when we got to LA, they went to Vegas and I went home. That's why I wasn't in the car with them.
This would end up getting the attention of a police force that is investigating the passing. It would then be reported Snoop Dogg arrested in connection to the Tupac Shakur incident. Police are questioning a recent interview by the rapper where he claims that he was supposed to be in the BMW with Tupac and Suge. The topic of Tupac came up during Snoop Dogg's interview because of Suge Knight's recent tweets. The tweets of, "This little guy is responsible for the passing of Tupac," as well as another tweet from an anonymous account only one day before, "I've been quiet for too long. First month of 2024, I'll be announcing what's really going on with Tupac." As this made many believe that Suge Knight is revealing the truth through several Twitter accounts, and some of them being anonymous. As Suge Knight agrees that Tupac is alive. He has said so in so many interviews over the course of the last 2 decades. As one interview, Suge Knight makes a very convincing case that Tupac is still here, where he mentions that Tupac was doing fine in the hospital right before his passing, where he states, "When I left that hospital, me and Tupac were laughing and joking. I don't see how someone can turn from doing well to doing bad."
I mean, when I left that hospital, me and Pac was laughing and joking. So I don't see how somebody can turn from doing well to doing bad.
So you seriously think that he might still be alive?
I'm gonna tell you this, Pac, you never know.
But what's strange about this is that Tupac was supposedly in a deep sleep, according to police records. So how in the world would he and Suge be laughing if Tupac was in a deep sleep? It doesn't seem to add up, but even in a 2008 interview, Suge Knight said the exact same thing. Tupac was alive and he was well.
So he was conscious on the way to the hospital.
He was conscious on the way to the hospital. He was conscious in the ambulance. He was conscious after they did the surgery.
What was the last thing that he said to you?
They left me.
However, the concerning part was after the 2008 interview, only 3 days later, Suge Knight almost lost his life in a nightclub when a man used a firearm in his direction 6 times. Suge knew immediately that it was likely due to him talking about Tupac in a public interview, so he didn't tell the police anything. Suge Knight's own son, Suge Jr., would make a similar mistake. In 2018, Suge Knight's son took it to Instagram, stating that Tupac was alive and well, and that he was living in Malaysia. Then right after, Suge Jr. would post this. Another photo to Instagram showing a text conversation where someone messages "You have said too much, it's now time for you to go." This is then when Suge Jr. would begin panicking, posting tons of photos of Tupac alongside modern day celebrities like 50 Cent and Beyonce. He really made it seem like someone was going after him for leaking all this info. As on the photo with Tupac and Beyonce, he captioned it, "He never left us, but they'll be after me soon." While some believe that it was a publicity stunt for Suge Jr. to gain social media clout, others believe that it was actually factual, as Suge Jr. would be the one to know more about the case than anyone else in the world, considering his father was right there at the scene of the crime. Now, with the addition of the new police task force of the Tupac case, I was able to find their files of evidence of the passing of Tupac Shakur. Now, I want you to compare all the evidence I shared of him being alive to these police files, as it begins with the police arresting a man named Keefe D in connection to the crime.
For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, aka Keefe D, of Tupac Shakur. Davis was arrested this morning by my LVMPD criminal apprehension team, and this investigation started on the night of September 7th, 1996. It has taken countless hours, really decades, of work by the men and women of our section to get to where we are today.
As on September 7th, 1996, Tupac was in Las Vegas with the head of his record label named Suge Knight. They went off to the MGM Grand to watch a Mike Tyson match, as after it was over and they were leaving the hotel, they ended up spotting an op inside of the lobby of the hotel, and they confronted him immediately.
Suge Knight and their entourage went to the Mike Tyson at the MGM Grand. Keefe D and his nephew, Orlando Lane Anderson, and 2 of their friends were also there. Keefe D told LAPD Detective Greg Kading more than a decade ago, in a proffer that couldn't be used against him, the shooting was retaliation after Tupac jumped Orlando and beat him up at the casino. Surveillance cameras recorded the fight. Tupac was angry that Lane had stolen his necklace years prior in Compton. Tupac, Suge Knight, and the entourage left the casino quickly.
As security would end up breaking up the altercation between Tupac, Suge, and the ops, Tupac and Suge would then go their own way, heading back to their hotel to change their clothes. The two would then go off to a club that is owned by Suge Knight himself, but sadly they didn't make it there, because at 11 p.m., while the two were driving to the club, things would go down right in the middle of the street at a red light.
Knew about Tupac's concert at the Club 662. Members, including Orlando and Keefe D, jumped in their white Cadillac and started cruising the strip looking for the offender. Before long, they finally spotted Tupac's caravan. At the intersection of East Flamingo Boulevard and Koval Lane, the white Cadillac pulled alongside the black BMW with Suge on the driver and Tupac on the passenger seats. The back window of the Cadillac rolled twice in the chest, once in the arm, once in the thigh.
With the aftermath of the incident being a mystery now for 2 decades, in 2024, new evidence has now been found because the police investigated a concerning interview by a man named Keefe D. He was featured on DJ Vlad's show, and during his interview, he details the moments of literally finding Tupac in the middle of the street and pulling up on him.
And Bubble Up was the driver, and Baby Lane and Freaky were in the back seat.
We was just all in the car together. Just say that.
This was the white Cadillac.
Yeah.
So you guys are driving around, and then you hear these girls say, "Tupac, Tupac."
Got to the light.
He was supposed to go drink, and he happened to be hanging out the window. He's hanging out the window like he was in a parade.
Tupac.
Yeah, he was.
So what happens next? You said that as you're driving up towards the BMW, with Suge driving and Tupac in the passenger seat.
This was an extremely bold claim to make on DJ Vlad's show. Vlad would be very skeptical of what he was saying, so he would want some more proof of what he's actually admitting here. This is then when Keefe D would confirm it by sharing a never-before-seen police interrogation on the night of the crime.
Lane starts. You say Suge looks over, he sees you. He looks right at you.
Yeah, he looks at me.
Okay. When he looks over at you, and then Tupac's busy getting. Evidently, the story is Tupac's trying to either get out of the
back seat or something.
Yeah. What do you see happening inside of their car?
I seen him going Suge head. I thought he was.
So Orlando across Dre.
He leaned over on the window. We rolled down the window.
With Keefe D releasing this footage for the first time ever, everybody was so surprised and speechless. He not only announced that he was at the crime scene, he was inside of the car and even made eye contact with Suge Knight while it was going down. What he said next, however, was even more concerning, where he would end up revealing that Tupac Shakur was reaching for his firearm, which is what started the entire incident.
You said that as you're driving up towards the BMW, with Suge driving and Tupac in the passenger seat, and you said that Tupac pulled out a...
It looked like he was reaching, yeah. Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you actually...
No, once he got the reaching, I got the ducking.
So someone from your car
That's what happened.
started at Tupac and Suge.
Now, during the police's investigation, they were also able to find Keefe D's official reaction to Tupac's passing, trying to see if he had any sort of regret for what him and his friends did.
Yeah, I hate that happened, dog. I really do, man. Because it took a lot of people's lives, dude. Hate that happened. Promise to God. I feel they should, that was wrong, man. It was just wrong, purely wrong. You know what I'm saying? I wish it had never happened. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion on it. It never happened, dude. You know what I'm saying? I lost my Colombian plug. You know what I'm saying? Had been having the feds up for 15 years. Couldn't do nothing. Couldn't catch a break, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I did time behind.
However, this is where things get very weird. Keefe D ended up writing an entire book on being involved in Tupac Shakur's passing, titled Compton Street Legend, where inside of the book, he literally hints towards doing the crime, and this book was released quite some time ago. So why is he now just being arrested for it after all of these years? Fans believe that it is a cover-up that Tupac Shakur is still alive, with evidence being more clear that there is a good chance of it. Throwing an elderly man in jail and blaming him for the incident seems like an easy way out. While some don't believe that Hollywood would do that, it really makes you wonder how far you think Hollywood will go. However, there's one rapper's passing that fans immediately believed wasn't real, which was Juice WRLD. Juice's ex-girlfriend Ali Lottie has been making many bold claims during a recent Instagram live, where she would say, and I quote, "Do you guys really think Juice passed from that? You are wrong, you're wrong, literally you're wrong. There's a lot of things you guys don't even know." Now this makes many believe that Juice WRLD may have stayed true to his word in 2017, where Juice would tweet, "My goal is to get overly famous, shine for a couple years, and then fake my passing." So what is the truth? Well, to understand everything, we first need to dive deep in December 8th, 2019. As on December 8th, Juice WRLD alongside his girlfriend Ali, his filmer, and his security were all boarding a jet and flying into Chicago. While boarding the plane, it was already late for around 50 minutes, as the flight attendants, as well as the captain, didn't want to take off yet. The entire flight felt very strange to Juice WRLD's friend.
It was acting weird, the stewardess lady was acting weird, and I just felt something off. I got up to yo, we should leave. You know what I mean? I got up and walked to the door, and then crazy. to see if the cars were still there, and I'm like, because I was gonna be like, yo, let's just go off this plane.
Yeah.
Like,
as the reasoning for the flight being delayed for 50 minutes would then be exposed only 3 months after his passing, as sources claim the pilot was the first one onto the plane. But while Juice and his company were boarding the jet, the pilot was able to smell very strong narcotics. He would follow his job's protocol by leaving the jet and calling law enforcement immediately. On Juice WRLD's private jet, he brought on multiple illegal items onto the flight, from having 70 pounds of extracurricular items stuffed into suitcases, 2 firearms with high-capacity magazines, alongside multiple items stuffed into Ali Lottie's handbag. The police would end up telling the captain, who was on the phone with police for roughly 10 minutes, to resume the flight as normal. Don't make any weird movements and just fly the plane to Chicago. This is exactly why Ali Lottie herself ended up blaming the pilot for Juice's passing on Instagram Live.
I've lost 2 of the most important people in my life because of snitches.
As in, what world would law enforcement tell a pilot to just resume the flight as normal? But this is exactly what would happen. The flight was going normal as usual. However, they would reach the point when arriving in Chicago where you're allowed to turn off airplane mode on your phone. Being 5 minutes left until they reached the airport, Juice's team would receive a text message of a warning.
everything was normal and everything was fine. And once we started getting closer to Chicago and we started getting service on our phones, our security guard, Hen, texted the group chat and was basically like, cops are here and they have a dog.
As the entire airport was quickly swarmed with security, police officers, as well as canine units. And it would be at this moment where everyone inside of the private jet would quickly begin panicking, so Juice WRLD would end up grabbing the extra items that were stuffed into Ali Lottie's handbag. Now, law enforcement believe that during the flight, when Juice WRLD and his team were told that the police were awaiting their arrival, Juice WRLD would end up taking more and more of the items in Ali's handbag to hide them from the authorities. This is because the plane was rented in Juice WRLD's name, meaning all of the illegal items on the flight would be put onto him when it comes to law enforcement searching his plane. We're unsure of the exact amount of time Juice WRLD would have been locked up in prison for, but according to lawyers online, they predicted a maximum of 20 years inside of prison for using a private jet to transport 70 pounds of extracurricular items across the United States, as well as carrying 2 illegal firearms. So hearing that information would cause anyone to freak out and get nervous. So when you add all of the items that Juice WRLD took, mixed in with all of the nerves of knowing law enforcement is awaiting your arrival, this is what caused the incident to Juice WRLD's heart. Now, when it happened and they finally landed the plane, witnesses claim that Juice WRLD would be quickly transported to emergency care. However, he would sadly pass in the process. While paramedics were helping Juice WRLD, the feds and the canine units were going through the luggage on the plane. The dogs were able to quickly sniff out the illegal items, which would end up raising the question of why would Juice even bring 70 pounds on a plane? It would end up being later revealed on why he did it. Before his passing, Juice WRLD's birthday party was coming up the following day, as mentioned by his filmer Chris, who was also on the plane.
Weekend, we're going to Chicago to celebrate his birthday. It was just his birthday the other day, but we're going this weekend, Saturday. We're flying out there. We're gonna have a birthday party with his mom and family and friends and stuff like that from out there. So
then 2 of the rapper's security guards were also arrested on the scene for the firearms while inside of the airport. Then later, Juice's photographer was also arrested and booked, and he was charged with a misdemeanor of firearm violation. So with an investigation now in place by law enforcement, OG rapper Boosie would suggest that the pilot of the plane was ultimately responsible for the passing of Juice WRLD, and he would refer to the pilot as a snitch. Because how did law enforcement know that Juice would be carrying several pounds of illegal narcotics on a plane? Another theory is it may have had something to do with Ali Lottie's countless cases of trafficking charges. Her renting a private jet with her famous boyfriend may have raised a red flag in the system. However, many others believe that Juice's Instagram live streams showing everything off before getting onto the plane caused the setup by the police department so then he could finally distance himself from the spotlight. However, rappers would end up quickly reacting to the passing of Juice WRLD, where G Herbo would go on and share,
"Man, I don't know, that was my real little brother, bro. So it's like, man, I don't know, we still, we dealing with that day, to be honest, man. It's still, of course, I'm not even gonna say I don't think, it ain't even been a day he ain't crossed my mind in some form or fashion, you know what I'm saying? So
to even Post Malone sharing,
I wasn't necessarily close with him, but
got to speak to him, a couple times, and just the sweetest guy. And
As later, we would then even see the kid Leroy share his experience with Juice WRLD.
I learned a lot of stuff being around him and his process and how he records.
Most rappers would probably be making a mistake if they tried to record the way that Juice did.
No, he was the GOAT, the best.
While also sharing how Juice helped him out on his come up in his music career.
And the other thing that I took away was really getting in touch with your emotions when making a song. That's one thing that I feel like he did perfectly.
One rapper's reaction that Juice WRLD would have loved would have been from none other than Eminem. He would end up sharing his reaction on Juice WRLD as well, on the type of music artist that he is.
Yo, shout to Juice too, man. Like, yo, that kid was so talented, man. He, like, his freestyle he did on Westwood, where he rapped for an hour, like, what the? That's the that we used to try to do at the hip-hop shop.
Then a reaction that many fans weren't even expecting would come from Tekashi 6ix9ine. Juice and 6ix9ine actually had beef back in the day. Juice was performing at a nightclub. He got the entire crowd to start chanting about 6ix9ine. Obviously, 6ix9ine didn't like that, and he would do some more trolling on his own on his Instagram lives. However, the two resolved their beef just before his passing, so 6ix9ine would end up sharing his reaction.
Look what Juice WRLD said. This is one reason I respect Juice WRLD, right? This is when I was clowning him. He messaged me. Look, Juice WRLD wrote me and said, yo, that video's so funny, I can't stop watching it. And you know what I said? I said, yo, call me. He said, you taking over the world. I said, peace, king. He said, what's your number? I sent it.
Whatever you want to do in life, find something that you don't mind doing for the rest of your life. And even if it seems like it's impossible, don't give up. Because a year ago, I was going to quit.
What is it that drives you to go that hard, though?
The love for music. I want to talk about it in music because I'm able to explain myself and talk about it in whatever, in whichever way I want to. So it gives me a lot of room to really explain the way I feel. Make sure my family and all my close ones are taken care of. That's success in my eyes. Like I like to spread joy. I like to make people happy. I like to create connections with music and vibes and bring people together.
Another rapper's passing that surprised many was King Von. With millions of people listening to his music, understanding that he truly lived the life that he rapped about, many felt that he was invincible, as possibly King Von himself may have felt that way too. Even recently, Boosie would share King Von's biggest mistake on the night that it happened.
Like you said, the King Von situation, like there was absolutely no reason for Von to be rolling around with that dude. Like, there was no, especially since he had security, someone should have jumped in. It should never even,
King
I almost feel like, yeah, but I almost feel like if you have real security,
all of them is supposed to blast. I feel like they would have been more ready in Chicago.
Sad, man, sad. I mean, the whole King Von thing is really kind of hanging
me up,
over
bro.
everyone right now.
That me up, bro, Because I like King Von,
However, rappers would reveal new details about the truth behind King Von's passing. As on November 5th, 2020, King Von and his crew were prepared to head over to a club in Atlanta for his newest album's release party. The night was supposed to be a massive celebration of the life and success of King Von, but nobody knew that it would be so short-lived, as King Von had many enemies. Growing up in a very dangerous place as O-Block, he knew the risks of being caught lacking in public, so when rolling out to the club, King Von's crew consisted of 20 to 25 members of O-Block, spread out across 8 vehicles that all went to the celebration party. Even King Von's manager 100K Track spoke on the extreme measures that King Von took regarding his security.
I travel with one security that moves with Von, and he traveled with 2 more security. You know what I'm saying? Von traveled in a proof truck, and not only that, his guys are security, man. He travels with 10 to 15 guys daily. They protect and love Von more than any security would. I think we're about 8-10 cars deep, 20-25 on entourage.
However, later on in the night, something would change. King Von would act out and he would put his entire life in jeopardy. In the meantime, King Von's party was going great. Everyone was celebrating, having a good time, and celebrating the success of Von's album. But once the party ended at 2:30, the entire mood changed. King Von and his entourage began exiting the club, with the plan of everyone returning to the Airbnb for the night. But King Von had other plans in a split moment.
Everybody mind leaving the club is that we're going to the hotel and the Airbnb, because that's normal routine. The club you went to, the after hours wasn't getting paid for. I didn't have no acknowledgement of. His team didn't have no acknowledgement of. That was a complete Von decision.
With the whole crew heading over to the Airbnb, King Von would tell his driver to go to a different club known as the Monaco Lounge. This would end up being the first decision of many that led to the passing of King Von.
So everybody else that was with us driving to the Airbnb, and Von literally went to the venue by himself. We got a call later from people in the car like, hey bro, we here by, matter of fact, I think from his DJ was like, hey bro, we here by ourselves, like where you guys at? And everybody rerouted to that venue.
For some reason, the people in King Von's truck only let the rest of the team know the plans once they arrived at Monaco. That means the 20 to 25 members of O Block all arrived to the Airbnb. Meanwhile, they were supposed to be protecting King Von. When the rest of the team found out, they immediately hopped all back into their vehicles and started driving to the club instantly. Von's manager was texting the Airbnb guys saying that King Von was acting very strange. He was not acting like himself, as he's usually a very upbeat guy. Von security would end up arriving to the Monaco Lounge with King Von and his manager. The security all went and scoped out the club, making sure there was no ops or firearms in the location, while King Von sat in his car for 30 minutes.
For some reason, Von wasn't himself. This man is like, I promise you, the best artist I ever moved in my life. For some reason that night, it was off. Like, he stayed in the car for like 30-35 minutes.
King Von's manager 100K Track would then go on and check on Von. Von finally agreed to go into the lounge after 100K Track was begging him for over 10 minutes. Due to Monaco's club rules, King Von's entire crew had to leave their firearms in the club, as they first sent security in to go check the club, making sure everyone was safe.
I went to the car he was in. I was like, yo, Von. Went inside the passenger seat. I'm like, yo, Von, bro, what's going on? Like, everybody here waiting, let's go. He was like, all right, let's go. We're telling security, hey, it's time to go in now. Von's ready. You know what I'm saying? We've been here too long. Let's go inside the club. They check the venue, go inside, check the outside, make sure there's no...
With all of Von's security inside of the club, with all of their firearms inside of their vehicles, the real danger was actually outside in the parking lot the entire time. This is because Quando Rondo was in the car with a couple of his own members trying to get some sleep. It would be revealed in 2024 that King Von was having beef going on with one of Quando Rondo's friends on Instagram the entire night, which is what put King Von in the bad mood since 2 a.m. When King Von's friend told him that he was sitting in the parking lot, this is when King Von immediately hopped out of his truck, spotted Quando Rondo beside his car, and King Von immediately beelined it towards the rapper.
Now, right before we go inside the club, one of his homeboys, he came to the car and said, hey, so-and-so's here. And Von just jumped up like, oh, come on, let's go.
King Von reacted instantly once he saw Quando Rondo's face. Von's team tried to get him to chill out and not start a scene, but that obviously didn't stop him. King Von went around the front of the white vehicle owned by Quando and immediately began swinging towards Quando Rondo, knocking him onto the ground.
He jumped out the car. By the time Von jumped out the car, I don't even think he knew where so-and-so was. He just jumped out the car. He bumped into so-and-so. As soon as he bumped into so-and-so, started brawling.
Then only a couple seconds into the brawl, while King Von is on top of Quando, Quando's best friend Lil Tim ends up hopping out of the back side of the white car with his firearm and hits King Von multiple times across his body. He also ended up hitting Von's manager once in the leg as well. There was 2 members of Von's crew that were still strapped. They instantly retaliated against Lil Tim, hitting him and making him fall to the ground. With the noise of the clips going off in the area, coincidentally, there was 2 off-duty officers working security down the street, as well as 1 on-duty officer pulling up to the scene. They didn't want to get too seen of the crime for safety reasons, so they began using their firearms in the general location, trying to make everyone calm down. But sadly, they ended up hitting one of King Von's members, and he sadly passed. During this, King Von was lying in the middle of the street with Quando right beside him. King Von was using Quando as a shield, but there was also other theories that Quando was trying to snatch King Von's chain before fleeing the area. But 100K Track believes that Von was holding Quando there to shield himself.
And was he trying to take Von's chain, or?
Honest truth, I don't think B-Roy had no jewelry. on and from the people that was a little bit closer, Vaughn was actually holding onto him like, man, you ain't going nowhere. Like, you here, like, even through getting he's that strong. Like, he was literally holding him.
Once everything calmed down and people stopped using their firearms, it was an immediate race to save King Von's life. His closest friend Muwap ran right into the middle of the street. He knocked Quando Rondo right out of the way, causing Quando and his team to flee the scene. Meanwhile, Muwap was carrying King Von into the getaway car to go to the hospital. Despite being affected 4 times by a firearm, King Von was conscious the entire time driving. One of the members with King Von in the car has now spoken out in 2024, where he would end up revealing that Von was in good spirits and he was actually the calmest person in the entire vehicle.
When he was in the car, I myself wasn't there. The gentleman that was in the car with him was panicking, and Vaughn was the one that was like, hey, calm down, slow down, chill, I'm gonna be good, just get me to the hospital. And honest truth, we all thought that the way he was carrying himself, from that incident, from what I was told from the people in the car, that he would have been fine.
Once arriving to the hospital, King Von was immediately rushed into the operating room, but unfortunately passed during surgery. As the news of Von's passing would shake the entire rap industry, many big-name artists reaching out and sharing love, as Von was one of Chicago's biggest rappers, and he was one of the most fearless and dangerous members that lived in O-Block. It was actually unbelievable to see that Von had fallen to beef with another rapper.
This made national headlines as officials confirmed one of the 3 people was rapper King Von from Chicago, who was here last night with friends.
2 groups of individuals got into a physical altercation. That physical altercation escalated into an exchange of guns.
On the other side, Lil Tim survived his injuries at the hospital, but the following day he would be arrested and charged with the passing of King Von. Lil Tim went through multiple bond hearings, but he was denied. However, in March 2021, he received a $100,000 bond, and ever since then, the charges against Lil Tim were dropped. As confirmed by his attorney in August of 2023, it states, the case against Mr. Leaks, aka Lil Tim, was dismissed before ever being indicted. However, life inside of O-Block hasn't been nearly the same ever since Von passed. The members are more on edge after seeing what happened to King Von, someone they thought could never fall to the street life. Even something as simple as going across the street to look at Von's mural, O-Block members would show every single day during Instagram lives.
Check it out. Let's walk over here and see this Von picture. I know it's a lot of ops on this. I'm letting y'all see where I'm at. Why is this black truck still right here? Man. Watch that truck. Watch that truck right there.
This then leads into XXXTentacion. His lyrics have connections to his passing, so first, let's understand what truly happened. If you were able to experience the generational run by XXXTentacion in 2016 to 2018, consider yourself lucky. His extremely rare musical talent created so many hit songs that continue to break records in 2024, which is 6 years after his official passing. Music so big that we still see legends like 50 Cent claim that X would have been the biggest artist in the entire world.
It's sad because he's young, you know, kid. He's just really getting off into his career, really. In a lot of places, he had #1 album, but they wouldn't cover it because of his legal issues. You know, and you see Spotify switch.
Immediately after XXXTentacion's passing, everyone started pointing the finger towards one rapper, being Drake. Even during the X trial, there was lawyers defending the suspects of Michael Boatwright, Dedrick Williams, Trayvon Newsom, and Robert Allen, all claiming that Drake was actually the one responsible for X's passing.
Before X, he said, if anything, it's Drake. And do you think that for one moment, here today, days after the event, 2 masked men, right? He came on social media and said, guys, if anybody is straight, do you think in that time span that they went and they addressed him, they talked to him? No. Do you think sitting here today, years later, any detective has ever asked, you know, Drake or anybody like that? No, they never did that. So you ask yourself, how could that be? And you say, hey, it's so-and-so, you better believe so-and-so is going to get investigated. But in this case, they didn't do it. They didn't do it because it didn't comport with their version and their narrative. And as law enforcement, I think that they have the obligation to do so.
The lawyer stated that Drake is responsible for X's passing due to X putting on his Instagram, "If anyone tries to get me, it was at Champagne Poppy, aka Drake. I'm snitching right now." However, finally in 2024, the actual truth behind his passing was revealed. Allow me to explain. On June 18th, 2018, the day that XXXTentacion passed, his day starts by him hopping into his all-black custom BMW i8 and driving over to Riva Motorsports. Riva is a massive retailer for motorcycles, boats, and off-roading vehicles. Once arriving to the store, X finds a motorcycle that he likes. As a manager then proceeds to tell X that they do cash deals as well as big discounts if you bring in all cash. XXXTentacion is then seen leaving the shop, calling his mom to update on buying the vehicle. His mother then tells X to bring his uncle so someone can drive his i8 home while he drives the motorcycle. The uncle plays a major role in his passing, so make sure you remember. XXXTentacion and his uncle then arrive to the Bank of America, where security surveillance catches X walking into the bank and speaking with the teller.
During your encounter with Mr. Envoy during this time, what was his demeanor like? Fun. He seemed happy.
During trial, the bank teller would mention that the Florida rapper wanted $250,000 in cash. She had to reject him at the bank booth as their policies only allow for $50,000 cash withdrawals. She handed over X the 50 grand and he ordered the other 200,000 for him to pick up at a later date. Now, what XXXTentacion didn't realize was walking back to his vehicle, the four suspects of Michael Boatwright, Dedrick Williams, Trayvon Newsom, and Robert Allen were all four scoping out his BMW i8 inside of the parking lot. Robert Allen, the snitch amongst the four, were already committed to wanting to commit a crime this day for money. XXXTentacion and his custom BMW practically fell into their hands. They watched X get into his car. They knew exactly who he was right off first glance, so they immediately started following. Robert Allen mentions that while they were following him driving back to Riva, they had two things in mind: snatch his diamond chain and find out what was in the Louis Vuitton duffel bag that he brought into the Bank of America. XXXTentacion arrives back to Riva for the final time. Arriving at the retailer, the four suspects would then park their van across the street, trying to stay out of the surveillance camera's way. Two men then hop out of the car so they could watch X from a distance inside of Riva Motorsports, while also purchasing the ski masks and gloves that they used for the crime only 10 feet away from XXXTentacion inside of the store. Many people were not aware of that. Here's even surveillance footage of them entering the store with X. One of the craziest part is X actually makes eye contact with one of the suspects as caught on tape. Now, XXXTentacion continues on. Looking at the motorcycles with his uncle, he ends up changing his mind and not purchasing. This means that all of the money is still inside of the Louis Vuitton bag. X and his uncle then proceed to leave Riva. Right behind them was the two suspects sprinting out of Riva, sprinting right past X and his uncle to the van that is parked across the street, as this is when X made the worst mistake ever. XXXTentacion would sit inside of the parking lot for roughly 5 minutes, giving the suspects enough time to get back to their van. When it was time to leave, X turns his vehicle off. The suspects turn their van on. XXXTentacion then tries to pull out of the driveway. Meanwhile, the van cuts them right off from the one exit way. With XXXTentacion blocked and nowhere to go, two men then hop out of the vehicle, one going to XXXTentacion's window while the other goes to his uncle's side window. The man at X's window has a firearm pointed right at X, demanding him to roll his window down and hand over the money. X would refuse and try defending himself, making the two men very angry. With the two men getting angrier and angrier, X's uncle would then open up his side of the door, sprinting away from XXXTentacion, leaving him all by himself against two men with masks and firearms. This is then when one of the robbers would go to the passenger side door, seeing as the door is wide open. He then gets to X inside of the vehicle while the other man uses his firearm towards X. XXXTentacion continued to defend off his chains and cash. This is then when we all knew what happened after that. The two men were able to run off with X's Louis V bag full of cash. Meanwhile, X's uncle is already back inside of Riva Motorsports, calling his mom. Now, in court, it would be revealed, and I quote, "Prosecutor says Dedrick Williams was driving and cut off the car being driven by X. Michael Boatwright and Trayvon Trayvon Newsom were the two that put the ski masks on and had firearms. The passenger manages to run away. They approach X and Boatwright does the act towards them. One of the 4 suspects, named Robert Allen, ended up snitching in the trial for X's passing. Robert would reveal everything that we need to know. We even learned how they split up the $50,000 that was found in the Louis V bag. There's even photos of the 4 flexing the money. Michael Boatwright, Dedrick Williams, and Trayvon Newsom all got $15,000 each. This means that Robert was the only one given $5,000. Pretty interesting, the man paid the least amount of money turned out to be the one to snitch. There's even a tweet that shares pictures taken after X's passing, same day, shows Michael Boatwright flexing a ton of cash. Defendant turned state testifies that this was XXXTentacion's money, and the photo was taken hours after the incident, revealing these photos of the suspects flexing a few $1,000s, thinking that they're cool. Shortly after, Robert Allen would share the money situation and what X's last words were. After the incident was done and the suspects hopped back into the van and began driving away, they would share what X was saying in his final moment. As shared by DJ Academics, XXXTentacion's last words were, "What is this for?" making his passing feel even more upsetting. X didn't even understand what was going on. It all happened within seconds, with surrounding witnesses at the scene taking photos of X, publishing everything to social media. The news spread fast. Rappers would then even start reacting and sharing their favorite moments with him. Juice WRLD, who exchanged conversations with X a few times, had this to share about his experience with the Florida rapper.
We had a couple like deep conversations, talked on the phone a few times. He had nothing but positive stuff to say. For real, for real. We had respect for each other at the end of the day. And that's what was gonna kind of lead into a friendship. He just said, make sure it's to keep all negative people out of your life. And just make sure that you have good energy around you, pretty much.
He'd even then hop onto a radio station interview where he would share this about the creation of his song titled Legends, who honors late rappers X and Lil Peep.
And that Legends record, it speaks because like you dropped it right after, you know, X.
I made it the same night he passed away.
Wow.
What was
about that?
Yeah, what was that relationship like? We weren't the best of friends. We had a couple like deep conversations though. He had nothing but good advice.
We would then even see Ski Mask share their upbringing together as well.
I met X in juvenile jail. Both was in juvenile jail spending time. Then we just was like, yeah, we need an outlet to just stop getting in trouble. All we like to do is hit licks and like do hood friends. Long story short, so it's just like, all right, we need to find something to do. So we was like in there just beating on the tables because all you can really do is sit there and stare at each other. So we sitting there beating on the chairs and stuff, and then we just like figured out each other could rap, and then we just like helped each other.
He would then even go on to share a never before heard conversation on how they actually produce their unique, distorted type of music, just like their collaboration song titled Take a Step Back.
X recorded my first song. He ordered the stuff off of eBay. It was like a snowball mic. It was like the cheapest mic you could get. It set on like 3 prongs or 4 prongs, one of those. And it was like just a basic Audacity and like a laptop. But that's how we got distorted music.
This would then even lead into Trippie Redd reacting, who said that they became very close friends as well, and he considered him a brother.
I was going to Miami to do several shows, and I performed in Orlando, and then I performed in Miami with X. Ever since I had met bro, we had just became like super cool friends, and now that's my best friend, I could say.
These two created the hit song titled F Love, one of the biggest songs of all time on Spotify to this day. Trippie Redd would even speak on how he even got onto the song.
I was in Lil Wayne's studio, and I had recorded over this detail beat. It was the Love chorus, and then I had posted an Instagram snippet, or the day after, matter of fact, and X had texted me and he was like, bro, I need that. I sent it to him. And he was like, bro, I'm putting this on my album. I'm like, all right, bet.
Then hopping into Denzel Curry, not only were the two best friends, but they also lived together in South Florida. Denzel ended up discussing the different stages of X.
There was different eras of X. Like black hair era, like when he just had regular hair. When I met him, you know, he was just coming up, just doing his thing, just coming up, just making music. You know what I mean? Had the blonde and black era when he had the half blonde, half black hair. And that's when, you know, when all the crazy stuff started happening with the allegations, with, you know what I'm saying, the trial, the shows. Then it went to the transition where white hair X, where he first got the tree in the middle of his forehead. That was like his evolving state. Then it went to Indigo X. He described it as Indigo X when we talked. The last time we talked, he said the reason why he changed his hair, and he just felt like he understood how it was being a bad person and how easy it was.
Very recently, a viral phone call to 911 for Pop Smoke's passing left fans speechless, as fans believe there are things that we are missing.
Hello, it's the fire department. I know, but you're not talking. We're already on their way. Give me your...
Police still don't know the motive behind this, whether it was an attempted robbery or something else.
Detectives have arrested 5 people in connection with of rapper Pop Smoke.
Pop Smoke was one of the hottest rappers in the game leading up to his passing on February 19th, 2020. However, the truth behind his passing has always been a mystery until today, as the unknown secrets have finally been revealed by the suspects that were involved in the crime. It all begins on February 17th, 2020. Only 48 hours before his passing, Pop had been hanging out around New York rapper Fabio Foreign before flying back to Los Angeles.
I woke up. I guess like it had happened overnight. And it's crazy because I was just with him the night before. He flew out that night, went to LA, and then it happened. So I'm like, automatically, I'm like, it's fake.
Needing a place to stay for the weekend, Pop Smoke would rent out an Airbnb in Beverly Hills. The following morning on February 18th, Pop would share a photo to his Instagram with a view from the mansion and even tagged the Beverly Hills. At this moment in Pop Smoke's music career, he was on the uptrend, as well as learning and getting used to all of the newfound fame. He was unaware that people were watching his every single move, especially on social media, which is why with every single post that Pop would make on social media, the men that took his life got closer to tracking him down. First was his post in the mansion. They knew that he was in Beverly Hills. Pop continued sharing his day online every single hour. From having his barber even come over to give him a fresh haircut, he would even post this by the pool in the afternoon. However, his next post was when the hitters really decided to go after him, as Pop Smoke was fitted in designer clothing, and the next slide even featured him and his longtime best friend, Mike D. He was holding stacks of cash right outside of the mansion, further attracting Pop Smoke's attackers that much more. An hour later, Mike D posted these photos showing the rich life that they have been living. They then got caught up in flexing their wealth online, as this post not only revealed the front of the house, but it also included 3 digits of the home's address. All Pop Smoke's hitters now needed to figure out what was the first digit, and then they would know his exact location. For some reason, Pop Smoke and his team were terrible at hiding his location on this day, as it would only get worse later on in the night. According to reports, Pop Smoke spent the evening out shopping. Then when he returned home, Pop would relax at the crib and even shared a photo of his nighttime view. This was timestamped to be around 10 p.m., only 6 hours before Pop would sadly lose his life. 30 minutes later, Pop Smoke received a gift and even posted it onto his Facebook. Thanking designer Mike Amiri for sending some designer clothing, he was extremely excited about this gift that he didn't even realize he just showed the entire world his exact address as it was printed on the tags of the gifts in the video.
Wait. Mike and Mary, Mike and Mary. Billy Jean, Billy Jean. Good looks, Mike and Mary. Gifts.
The robbers didn't even have to do any digging into where Pop Smoke even was, as the place that he was staying at was on the internet for anyone to view, as it was on Airbnb. According to reports, one of Pop Smoke's managers then asked him to actually delete the post after he noticed several hours later. Before anything happened, Pop then left the house again. He headed over to East West Recording Studios, which is only a few miles away. While he was gone, reports say a black BMW drove past the mansion and even parked just down the street. Security cameras captured the passenger of the BMW sneaking towards the back of the mansion. As 2 minutes later, the man then returned to his vehicle and they quickly sped away. Pop was finally finishing up at the recording studio. Him and Mike D, as well as a woman named Amelia Rose, all 3 hopped into a Range Rover and started driving back to the Airbnb. Rose and Pop were going to the master bedroom, as while Mike D was going down the hall to a separate bedroom. After being home for a few hours, a sedan then pulls up to the house around 4 a.m. With the headlights off, 4 shadows would emerge from the vehicle and go down the side of the mansion. As they snuck into the backyard, Pop Smoke is in his bathroom taking a shower while Rose is laying in bed. All of a sudden, the 4 men bursted into the bedroom, all 4 wearing ski masks and telling the lady to be quiet. Pointing firearms in her direction, the other 3 men quickly rushed into the bathroom after Pop. Rose told detectives she would hear the sound sounds of a struggle between them before hearing Pop Smoke scream and then a loud popping sound. This is when Pop Smoke would sadly fall to the ground. The two intruders continued going after him. As Pop Smoke quickly realized his life was in jeopardy, he tried getting up and running away downstairs, but unfortunately, Rose would state she heard 2 more loud pop noises and it went off. As the robbers would quickly flee the scene, grabbing anything they can, she would then quickly run down the stairs to find Pop Smoke sitting at the bottom, and at the same time, Mike D was awoken by the sound of the first firearm noise. He was hiding in his bedroom closet, waiting for all of the noise and commotion to calm down before exiting. He would quickly look inside Pop Smoke's room, however, he would just find the two at the bottom of the staircase, as he would then call 911.
Hello? PD, what are your numbers? Hello, this is the fire department. I know, but you're not talking. We're already on their way. Give me your... Are you in a safe place, sir?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Unknown, okay. They're on their way.
Medics arrived on the scene and then rushed to take Pop Smoke to the medical center, but sadly, he didn't make it.
4:55 this morning, multiple LAPD Hollywood units responded to a call at 3 Hercules Drive in the Hollywood Hills, was being broken into by multiple suspects, and that one of them was with a... When officers arrived there, they discovered inside the house and transported that to Cedars-Sinai Hospital, where he was pronounced.
Detectives began investigating to find who was responsible. Both the BMW and Infiniti were both noticed by detectives, as through DMV records, they would find that both cars are registered to a 19-year-old named Corey Walker. With Corey being a person of interest, a judge issued a warrant giving detectives access to his Google account. They would find a very interesting search history, as his account revealed his search of the house's address and even visited the LAPD's website only 2 hours before the crime, as he looked up the address of the real estate on the website Zillow. This gave him, as well as his team, photos to see what the inside of the house looked like, as his next search would be at 5:15 a.m., which is only 20 minutes after Mike D called 911, where he searched, and I quote, Rolex Oyster Datejust, which is the exact watch they stole from Pop Smoke in the bathroom. The value of the watch they got after robbing and doing this to Pop Smoke, they sold for around $3,000. These 4 teens ruined their entire lives just to split for $500 to $750 each. Despite having a very suspicious online record, law enforcement didn't have enough hard proof yet. It wasn't until a 15-year-old was then arrested on unrelated crimes that the case would then break wide open. Detectives had him on a person of interest list, so when they brought him into jail, they rigged his entire cell with recording devices, where he would end up confessing to his cellmate that he was involved in the robbery of Pop Smoke and that he was actually the one that used the firearm. The driver was then also arrested not too longer for other charges. He too would also confess to his cellmate and told the exact same story as the 15-year-old. According to both of them, they actually had no intention of doing this to Pop Smoke. All they wanted was his jewelry and designer clothing, but when Pop Smoke wouldn't back down in the bathroom, they panicked and then did the act. Corey Walker was the 19-year-old who stayed in the car during the robbery, while 18-year-old Keandre Rogers led to the charge into the house. They were both charged with the passing of Pop Smoke, and they are continuing to await their trial. However, the other two, aged 17 and 15 at the time of the crime, both pleaded guilty to being involved.
One of the 4 men accused of Brooklyn rapper Pop Smoke just pled guilty. The 20-year-old man was 17 at the time of the...
They aren't even named since they weren't 18 at the time of the crime. However, the 17-year-old is now 20. He is sentenced to 4 years and 2 months inside of a detention facility. Meanwhile, the 15-year-old, who was the man that did the act, is expected to be held in a state juvenile facility until he turns the age 25. Unfortunately, the 2 younger ones won't have to spend their lives behind bars for what they did. Both Corey Walker and Keandre Rogers will face up to life inside of prison for their charges, but overall, this should be a life lesson to many young rappers in the game to not post every single thing about your life on social media, especially your whereabouts. However, right when the YSL RICO trial began, YSL rapper Lil Keed sadly passed. The coincidence concerned so many, so let's investigate. The sad passing of YSL rapper Lil Keed surprised the entire rap world, not only because of the devastating news of the young rapper, but also the timing of it. As we just watched Young Thug, Gunna, and 28 other members of YSL get raided, arrested, and charged with RICO. Now it's important to know this about Lil Keed. At the start of Lil Keed's career, he worked at Subway and McDonald's in his teenage years, stacking up enough money to afford recording time at the local recording studio right down the street from his Atlanta home. Keed would also record music almost on a daily basis, reinvesting all of the money he made from working part-time into his craft and creating projects. While creating a little buzz in his area, it was when YSL rapper Young Thug visited his neighborhood and heard Lil Keed for the first time. Now this is when the viral video of Young Thug listening to Lil Keed's early music through a vehicle sound system went viral. And it was at this moment Young Thug linked up with Lil Keed and took his young rap career to the next level. Now Young Thug signed Lil Keed to the YSL label and immediately started working close with Young Thug. Young Thug describes Lil Keed as a younger brother, trying to learn the craft and even the ins and out of the business world. Sadly, on May 13th, Lil Got It, a brother of Lil Keed, posted this on Instagram. "I can't believe I seen you pass today, bro. I did all my cries I knew you would want me to do, and that's gonna go hard for mom, dad, our brothers, Nature, and White Boy," announcing the passing of Lil Keed on his official Instagram. Now with the reasoning of his passing not being revealed until today, No Jumper writes this, and I quote, "Lil Keed complained to his friends and family that he was suffering from serious stomach pain in the days leading up to his passing. Now with things getting so bad that he had to go to the hospital." Now multiple sources close to Lil Keed tell us that the YSL rapper had his battles over the years with drinks and narcotics, but he had been clean and sober as of late. We're told last week that he began experiencing severe stomach pain and even went to the LA hospital to get it checked out. From there, our sources say things got worse. Lil Keed's organs, liver, and kidneys started failing, which then led to his passing. Now once the passing of Lil Keed hit news headlines, many huge rappers started sharing love for Keed. Zaytoven shared this photo as saying, "At Lil Keed, working with you was an honor and a pleasure," followed by Lil Nar tweeting, "Rest easy Lil Keed. I can't believe I'm seeing this right now. I'm sick to my stomach. My brother was a good-hearted man." And even with the current RICO case Young Thug's going through, Lil Got It was able to get Young Thug's reaction while inside of jail. Lil Got It posts this by saying, "Just talking to Young Thug yesterday. Keed, you messed him up with this one, but we know you guarding him through these times and gonna make sure that he's gonna be alright. We the proud family, nothing can stop us." Now with the passing of Lil Keed happening just a few days after 28 members of YSL, including Young Thug and Gunna, got arrested for RICO, many people couldn't believe it. Now this viral tweet came out saying, "There's no way that Young Thug, Gunna, and most of YSL gets arrested, then Lil Keed passes. Something's going on, bruh. YSL is being targeted." Now this made people dig deeper into this theory. New evidence was released just yesterday of YSL rapper Young Thug being wiretapped. Now law enforcement stated during a press conference that there's new evidence of wiretap on the YSL founder, putting out a hit towards YFN Lucci. Now in the evidence files it states Garlington and Quantavius, associates of YSL, was speaking over a cell phone to an incarcerated Fulton County inmate, discussed protecting an incarcerated YSL associate from rival team members. Garlington and Quantavius, while speaking over a cell phone to the incarcerated county inmate, discussed going after another Fulton County jail inmate who had just recently went after a YSL associate while being locked up at Fulton County. Garlington and Quantavius did unlawfully commit the felony offense of conspiracy to possess telecommunications devices by an inmate. But while speaking over a cell phone to the incarcerated county jail inmate, they discussed a plan to fly a drone carrying a cell phone beyond the guard lines to a window at the county jail. Now, it's no secret that Young Thug is being jailed at Fulton County, and to simplify what this evidence truly means, associates of YSL made a plan to tape cell phones to a drone, then fly them over the fences at Fulton County and deliver them through a window at the jail. Now, obviously, law enforcement watched the drone flying in. Rather than stopping the drone and confiscating the cell phones, they actually allowed the cell phones to be used by inmates, and they just secretly wiretapped them to gain information. Now, with this super creative police work, law enforcement tapped these phones to gain information about the YSL case. Now, this was actually a successful plan. They learned that YSL members, allegedly Young Thug, put out a hit towards YFN Lucci. Now, some people believe that with all of the YSL members locked up, Lil Keed was left by himself. No YSL members to protect him or watch over him. Now, this then ties into what Young Thug's criminal lawyer said, putting out this statement. Young Thug's lawyer filed an emergency motion in hopes of getting him released immediately on bond. Why the urgency? Well, attorney Brian Steele says the YSL honcho is being held in total isolation in a windowless cement compartment with only a bed and a toilet. He adds that the jail cell has an overhead light that remains on 24 hours a day, preventing Young Thug from getting any sleep. Further, Steele says that Young Thug has no access to the media or opportunity to exercise, shave, or have any human contact. And don't get him started on the food menu. According to his attorney, Young Thug is getting a tray of inedible food. Steele included the quotes around the food sarcastically. Now, while it sounds like he's basically describing a stereotypical jail cell, Steele says the conditions violate Young Thug's constitutional rights, in particular the 8th and 14th Amendments. Now, with his lawyer stating that Young Thug has no access to the media or any human contact, his lawyer is demanding better living environments for Young Thug, which in jail, the term better living environments comes with an 8-hour access to the jail phones, as when you're put into the best cell block, meaning the best living environment, there's actually a row of 8 to 10 phones on the wall that the public has access to 8 hours a day. Now, with these cell phones, Young Thug could have made arrangements for protection for all free YSL members with active security or having other people look after them. Now again, that part is all a conspiracy theory, but even when you dig a little deeper into this 28-man RICO case, things begin to get more interesting. Now let's continue. The night of May 9th, breaking news was released. Rappers Young Thug, Gunna, and 28 defendants charged in a 56-count indictment in Fulton County. The 56-count grand jury indictment charges 28 members and associates of Young Slime Life, otherwise known as YSL. The indictment includes charges of conspiring to violate the racketeer, influenced, and corrupt organizations, otherwise known as RICO. Young Thug was also charged with armed robbery and participation in criminal street activity. News TV captured this exclusive image of authorities taking Young Thug into custody earlier this evening. Now here's even extra bonus footage of Young Thug getting arrested. Now, according to the 56-page indictment, Young Thug is facing charges of participation in street activity, conspiring to violate the racketeer, influence, and corrupt organizations known as RICO. Gunna is also facing 1 count of conspiring to violate RICO. After reviewing the 88-page indictment, there are very serious allegations against Young Thug. In court, prosecutors say that YSL is a criminal street team that started in late 2012 in the Cleveland Avenue area of Atlanta. YSL claims affiliation with the National Red. YSL's founders were Jeffrey Williams, aka Young Thug, aka Slime, then Walter Murphy, aka DK. then Trontavious Stevens, aka Tick. Young Thug is accused of renting a 2014 Infiniti Q50 sedan from the car company known as Hertz. Now, this car was used in the commission of the passing of Donovan Thomas Jr., a rival street member, in January 10th, 2015, according to this indictment. So prosecutors allege the two associates of YSL Christian and Antonio worked to get permission of Young Thug to make a second attempt on YFN Lucci while he was being jailed in Fulton County. Prosecutors say that Sergio Kitchens, otherwise known as Gunna, an associate of YSL, is accused of appearing in a video released on social media titled Fox 5 wearing a YSL pendant and slat pendant. He then added lyrics saying, "We got 1,000 rounds." Law enforcement was quick to raid the YSL mansion, arresting 28 members of YSL once they heard and stacked all of this evidence. Once they were able to find evidence of YSL associate members trying to make a second attempt on YFN Lucci, and then with Gunna saying that he has 1,000 rounds in a video clip wearing a YSL and slat chain, they were quick to make a move on YSL, as they obviously didn't want anything happening to YFN Lucci. But it's very interesting, as after 28 members get arrested, with not many YSL members being in the free world at this moment, that young rapper Lil Keed sadly passes. Let us know what you think down below in the comments. It's been District Trending and I'm out. Peace.